In today's video, I will be showing you how to draft a waistcoat pattern. A waistcoat or vest, as it is popularly called in US and Canada, is a sleeveless upper body garment which is usually worn over a shirt, necktie, and also sported as a third piece in the traditional three-piece male suit. However, a waistcoat features a various number of buttons, and this can either be a single-breasted or a double-breasted. A waistcoat neckline can either be a V-shape or U-shape. It can either be with a short collar, notched collar, or without collar. And lastly, the pocket designs on the waistcoat can either be a regular pocket design, single wet pocket, double wet pocket, and it can be with flap or without flap, as this depends on your preference. If this sounds like what you've been looking for, consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and also leave a comment below. And guys, please encourage me by watching ads on my videos. Please don't skip those ads, because that is the only way I get paid for my hard work in making sure I deliver a valuable content to you guys. With that being said, let's dive into the video. My name is Bolaji and this is Regi School of Fashion. In drafting a waistcoat pattern, I will be starting with the front bodies. So the pattern paper I have on my table is for the front bodies. And on the pattern paper, I have my lines drawn out. So here is the starting point. This line is for the starting point. I have the chest level and I have the waist level. Just as the name implies, waistcoat. So the pattern is stopping on the waist level. And this size is the center of the front. That is why I label this as a center front. So before drafting or taking any measurement, I will be leaving about 2 inches on the center front. So from the edge of the pattern, I will measure 2 inches forward. 2 inches here. Don't forget, this is for the front panel. Okay, so now I have this drawn out. Now my center front will move away from this side and I'll place the center front on this line. So this is no more my center front, so this line is my center front. So which means every measurement I will be taking will start on this line. So please take note of this. If you know you can get confused or you can forget, you can just fold in the 2 inches I measured out when you are making yours. Just fold it inwards like so, then you tape it down if you know you can forget. So also, if you notice on my pattern, I have space at the upper part and I have space at the lower part. So when you are drafting yours as well, make sure you have about 5 to 6 inches below the waist level, and at the upper part, make sure you have up to 1 inch. And you can see by the center of the pattern as well, I have 2 inches. So the first step is to insert the back measurement. Back measurement is the measurement taken from one shoulder point to another. And because I have my center front moved to this point, I will start taking the measurement from the 2 inches point. So half of the back measurement I'm working with is 9 inches. Then on the chest level, I will be inserting the same 9 inches. Then I will make this a straight line. Okay, so now I have the armhole line. So I will label this as the armhole line. So now before we proceed, I need to explain this. Just as I said in the intro that we have different designs for a waistcoat. So when you are making a waistcoat, the first thing you need to do is to decide the design you want for your waistcoat. We have different designs, different color, different pocket design, different neckline designs, okay? But for the sake of this tutorial, I will be showing you how to draft a waistcoat with V neckline, okay? V neckline with pocket welts, buttons, and I will be shaping the waistline as well. So that is the design I'll be having for this pattern before we proceed into the construction of the waistcoats. So which means you have to subscribe to my channel so that you will not miss any of these tutorials. After completing the drafting, we will go to the sewing part. So when we are done with the sewing of this particular design, we move to another design. I'm going to show you how to make a single breasted, how to make the double breasted, how to add collar to your waistcoat, which can be a notch collar or a short collar. Also, how you can have an half collar to your waistcoat. Yeah, your waistcoat can be with half collar as well. What do I mean by this? You can have a collar at the center of your waistcoat. Then at the back of your waistcoat is going to be without collar. So that is half collar. And at the same time, you can also create a design for your waistcoat, which means it will not have a collar at all. You can also make a waistcoat without collar, so which is the design I'm showing you in this particular tutorial. So guys, you have to stick to this video. Make sure you subscribe so that you won't miss any series of this video. That is number one. Another thing I need to tell you guys is please and please, all those hearts you are skipping on my videos, please watch them. Watch hearts on my video. That is how YouTube paid me. That is how I get reward for everything I do and all the valuable contents I'm giving out to you guys. So please encourage me, support my channel by watching hearts on my video, and God bless you as you are doing so. So after creating the armhole line, the next step is to insert the neck width. Neck width measurement is taken from the center front towards the side of the pattern. And because this is a V-neck shape, the neck width has to be wide, okay? Anytime you are making a V-neck pattern or you are drafting a V-neck design, just have it at the back of your mind that it has to be wide. This is because by the time we construct this, the measurement will be reducing. That is, the wideness of the neckline will be reducing. Let's take for instance, this is my neck width point and I'm connecting to the chest level. As I position it like so, you can see what I have. What I have from here to here is different from what I will be having from this point to this point. The wideness of the neckline is reducing. So if your neck width is not wide enough from the starting point, the neckline will be too narrow and the output of the waistcoat will not look nice. So that is why I will be using 5 inches. Actually, the standard measurement is between 4.5 inches to 5 inches. If it is like a medium figure, large figure, medium large figure. If you are drafting pattern for a medium large figure, for a large figure, and from medium figure, you can use 4.5. But for extra large and above, you can use 5 inches. So I will be using 4.5 inches. Okay, so I have the neck width point out, which is here. Then on the armhole point, I have to create a shoulder slope. Don't forget that the shoulder line is not meant to be on a straight line. So we have to achieve that sloping. And because this pattern is for a male figure, I will be measuring 1.5 inches downward from the starting point, 1.5 inches. Then I will be connecting the 1.5 inches to the neck width point. So with this, I have the shoulder line drafted out. Okay, so this is no more the shoulder line, and now we have the new shoulder line. So I will label this as the shoulder line. Now that I've drafted out the shoulder line, the next step is to construct the armhole. In constructing the armhole, I need the neck width and the neck depth. And I've measured out the neck width measurement, which is here, and the neck depth is on the chest level. Plotting the neckline on the chest level is a standard measurement. You can always tamper with this, okay? You can bring yours closer or let it be below the chest level. That is, it can be above the chest level or below the chest level. But when you are making use of this particular neckline, that is the V neckline, make sure you stick to the chest level, because this is what will bring out the shape and the beauty of the waistcoat. And don't forget, waistcoat is not one only, it has to go with a shirt. So there's no need of drafting the pattern in such a way the body will not expose. So even though that part will expose, there is shirt underneath that will cover up the part. So when you are making use of a V neckline, make sure you stick to the chest level or below the chest level. It shouldn't be above the chest level. So I will be making my neck depth to stop on the chest level, okay? And also, in order to bring out the shape of this neckline, I will not be making use of a straight line, so which means my neckline will not be a complete straight line. I want to spice it up with a curved line. So just a slight curve. So you can see what I'm having. So after constructing my neckline, I will have my neckline like so. So this is different from a straight line. And this is what I have. If I'm making use of a straight line, this is what I will have. And if you prefer making yours a straight line, you can use a straight line. Okay, so there's no rule that guides this. It all depends on your preference. Okay, so now that I've drafted out the neckline, the next step is to construct the armhole. Please, at this point, you have to pay a closer attention, because a waistcoat armhole is different from the regular armhole. In drafting the armhole, firstly, I will have to work on the shoulder line. Why do I need to work on the shoulder line? This is because a waistcoat is usually without a sleeve. It is usually a sleeveless. And because it is a sleeveless, I cannot leave the shoulder line as wide as this. If the shoulder line is wide like this, the beauty of the waistcoat will not come out. It will not look good on the wearer. So for this reason, firstly, I will take the measurements I have from here. Don't forget, this is the shoulder line we are working with. This is no more a shoulder line, the slant line. I'll be taking the measurements from this 1.5 inches point. This is 1.5, and this is a neck width point, 4.5. So I will take the measurements and discover what I have there. Here I have 4.75, which is too wide for the shoulder line of a waistcoat. Now I'll be reducing this to 3 inches. 3 inches is standard. If you want it narrower than 3 inches, you can make use of 2.5 inches. So what you can use is between 3 inches and 2.5 inches. So when you are taking this measurement, so please take note of this, it has to be taken from the neck width point, not from here. So this is the neck width point. You can see the tip of my measuring tape is on the neck width point. So from this point, I will measure 3 inches forward towards the armhole line, and I will mark the point. So you can see what I have. That is 0.1. This is 0.1. Then I will take the measurement I have on the armhole line from the 1.5 inches point to the chest level. So here I have about 7.5 inches, and I will get the midpoint of 7.5 inches. Half of 7.5 inches is 3.75. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. And half of 0.5 inches is 0.25. 0.25 plus 3.5, I have 3.75. At this point, it is essential for you to learn how to read your measuring tape properly. So I have a well-detailed video on how to read the measuring tape for pattern drafting. In this video, you will learn how to locate every value you come across on your measuring tape. All these small lines you have on your measuring tape, how do you locate them? When you have figure like 0.125, 3.625, 3.75, or you come across values that is in fraction value, 7/8, 5/8, 3/8, how do you locate them on your measuring tape? All these are well explained in my video on how to read a measuring tape for pattern drafting. The link to the video is in the description below, so make sure you watch the video after watching this particular one. Now my midpoint of the armhole line is 3.75, and easily I can locate the point, so which is here. Then I will extend that point inward. So please take note, I'm extending this inward and not outward. So I'll be extending this inward, and with the help of the lines I have on my ruler, I make sure the straight line align with the armhole line. So with this, I'm very sure I will have a perfect straight line. So I'm just extending this towards the center front, and on the line I will measure 2 inches inward. This is standard. Okay, the 2 inches is standard. If you want it narrower, you can increase it, but you cannot use lesser than 2 inches. This is what will bring us the beauty of the waistcoat. So this is point 2. Yeah. Then the point 3 is to come to the chest level. Don't forget, this is the chest level. On the chest level, I will measure 1.5 inches downward. You can see what I have. 1.5 inches. I'm extending this line towards the side. When drafting a regular armhole, when constructing a regular armhole, after getting the 2 points, the next is to insert the chest circumference measurement on the chest line, then connect the armhole. Okay, but in this case, I'm bringing the chest level measurement downward by 1.5 inches. So that is why I have this line. So then after this, I will insert quarter of the chest measurement I'm working with, which is 38 inches. So here is quarter of 38 inches. So that is 38 inches divided by 4. What I have here is not enough to construct the armhole. So I will be adding to this. If you want to know the reason why, and if you want to know how much measurements you need to add based on the sizes of the wearer, okay, watch my video on how to draft a male native shirt pattern. I explain into details what you can add from this armhole point. If you are drafting pattern for a small figure, for a medium figure, medium large, large figure, extra large, XS large, what can you add on this line in order to construct the armhole? So the video will be linked up in the description area as well. Make sure you watch this video after watching this particular one. But because I'm drafting my pattern for a large figure, please not from this point, it's from the armhole line point. So I will be adding 2 inches. So this is what will help me to be able to construct the armhole. I cannot use this to construct the armhole, so I'm crossing this out. So what I'll be doing is to extend the armhole line to the 1.5 inches point. Please make sure you have a straight line. Okay, and if you cannot get a straight line easily, just measure whatever you have from here to here. Insert the measurement on this line as well. So that is 9 inches. So just make sure you have your 9 inches and mark the point. But with the help of the lines I have on my ruler, I can achieve a straight line easily. Okay, so from here to here I have 2 inches. So because I'm not constructing the armhole on the chest level, this is where I'll be constructing the armhole. I will return these 2 inches back to this line. So from here, 2 inches. So, and this point is the point 3. So now it's time to construct the armhole. I'll be connecting the 3 points I marked out together. This is point 1. A quick recap. This point 1 is a 3 inches wideness for the shoulder line, and the measurement was taken from the neck width point, which is here forward. Here is a 3 inches, so that is a point 1. Point 2 is the midpoint of the armhole line. The measurement I took was from the 1.5 inches of the shoulder slope point, not from the starting point. I measured my armhole from this point to the chest level, and I got the midpoint, which is here. I extended the line forward towards the center front, and I inserted 2 inches. That is point 2. Then the point 3, I extended the chest level downward by 1.5 inches. Okay, then on this line, I inserted the chest measurement plus 2 inches, which is here. From this point to this point is 2 inches. Don't forget, don't take the measurements from the quarter of your chest measurement. Okay, that is 2 inches. Okay, then I brought this 2 inches downward to the 1.5 inches line. So that is why I marked this as a point 3. So now I will be connecting these 3 points together, point 1, 2, 3, and I will be making use of my armhole ruler. So firstly, I will be connecting point 1 and 2 together. You can see the positioning of my ruler. The curved side is facing towards the center front. So I'm connecting the first 2 points together first, like so. Then I will extend it downward to meet the 1.5 inches line. So please take note of this. When connecting yours, if it doesn't get to this point, there is no cause for alarm. At any point it touches this line, just connect your armhole, construct the armhole. So it is not necessary for your armhole curve to get to this point. So you can see what I have. I have a very smooth armhole curve. And with this, the shape of our waistcoat has started coming out. You can see how beautiful it looks. So guys, if you are getting value so far from this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment at the comment section, and also watch out on this video. Now that we have the armhole drafted out, the next step is to construct the button allowance. The button allowance I will be using is 1 inch. 1 inch is standard for all sizes, but in some cases you want to make use of a very big buttons. Make sure you measure the diameter of the buttons, so this will determine what you will be using for your button allowance. But if you are making use of the normal sizes of button, 1 inch is enough as your button allowance. So I will be making use of 1 inch for my button allowance, and this measurement will be taken below the chest level. So from the chest level point, I will measure 2 inches downward. I'm making use of the 2 inches. This 2 inches is standard actually, but if you don't want to make use of these 2 inches, you can add to it, use 3 to 4 or 5 inches. But always remember, the more value you use here, the more open the center front. Don't forget, this is our center front. So wherever this point gets to, that is where the button will start. I inserted it here. This is where I want the button to start. So every opening I will be having on the center front will not exceed this point. If you bring yours lower, so this is where your button will start. So just have that at the back of your mind before you decide what to use. But 2 inches is standard. From the chest level, I measure 2 inches downward. Okay, so from this 2 inches point, I will take my button allowance measurement, which is 1 inch. Okay, then on the waist level, I will insert the same 1 inch. Then I will be connecting that to make a straight line. Okay, then in order to be able to cross this out on a perfect straight line, this is my chest level. I will measure 2 inches downward. That is the 2 inches I measure from this point to this point. So here is the 2 inches point. Then I will square this out like so. So with this I will have a perfect straight line. So you can see what I'm having. And now that I've extended my center front to this point, I will have to extend my neckline also to meet this point. So now I'll be reconstructing the neckline using the same ruler I used earlier. So I'll be connecting this now to meet this point. Okay, so make sure you position your ruler in such a way you have a blend line. So you can see what I'm having now. So now this is the neckline. Now that I have the button allowance drafted out, the next step is to shape the hemline of the waistcoat. That is a beautiful shape we usually have at the hemline of the waistcoat. In shaping the hemline of the waistcoat, I will be measuring 5 inches downward from the waistline. Okay, and I also added to my paper, to the length of my pattern paper, so that it will be enough for the drafting. So I have the 5 inches marked here. Don't forget, this is the button allowance. From this point I measured 5 inches downward, and also from the center front I will measure 5 inches downward. Okay, now I will be extending the center front line downward to the 5 inches point, like so. Okay, so I'm inserting the 5 inches again on the line. So here I have the 5 inches. Then from this point I will be extending this forward. So please, I'm extending this towards the side of the pattern, like so. Okay, then on this line I will measure 1.5 inches. All these values are standard. This is just to give the lower part of the waistcoat a beautiful shape. So that is what I'm trying to do. Okay, so from here to here is 1.5 inches. From the waist level to this point is 5 inches. So this is 5 inches. This point is 1.5 inches. So after getting this point, then I'll get the midpoint of this 5 inches. That is from the waist point to the 5 inches point. I'll get the midpoint, which is 2.5 inches. Here is the midpoint. Then I will take this point. I will measure it upward by half of an inch. From here to here I use 5 inches. The 5 inches is standard, but if you want your waistcoat to be longer than this, you can add up to 6 inches or 7 inches. Okay, so the value you added will be determined by how long your waistcoat will be. But the beauty of a waistcoat is to remain short on the body. So that is why I use 5 inches, and the midpoint of my 5 inches is 2.5. So which means if you use more than 5 inches, your midpoint will not be 2.5, it will be 3 inches. So from your midpoint, just measure half of an inch upward. Okay, because we have to connect this to the button allowance. So here is half of an inch point. Then I will square this out. Don't forget, from here to here is 1 inch for the button allowance. So I'll be taking the same 1 inch on that point so that I can connect this to the button allowance. Okay, then I will square it out like so. For a quick recap, from the waist level to this point is 5 inches. Then I got the midpoint of 5 inches, which is 2.5 inches, and here is the point. Then from the 2.5 inches, so that's the 2.5 inches. So from this 2.5 inches, I brought it up by half of an inch, and I extended it outward with the value I used for the button allowance, which is 1 inch, and I connected the button allowance from the waist point downward to meet this point. So that is why I'm having the shape like this. Then from here to here is 1.5 inches. So now I'll be shaping this by connecting this 1.5 inches point to this point using a straight ruler. So you can see what I'm having now for the lower part of my waistcoat. So this is the center front. This is what I will be having on both sides. Now, after shaping the lower part of the waistcoat at the center front, the next step is to construct the side. You can see I've not closed the side of the pattern. In closing the side of the pattern, I will be inserting the horizontal measurement. On the patterns, I have just 2 vertical lines, which are the chest level and the waist level. I have measurement for the chest level already, which is the armhole point. So that's the number 3 point I have here. So on the waist level, I will be inserting quarter of the waist measurement I'm working with. And I also gave you a clue in one of my previous videos on how to get this measurement perfectly without taking the measurement, because taking that measurement is usually technical on male figure. The measurement for the waist is different from measurement for the tummy. When you are taking measurements, when you are taking the waist measurement for trousers, is different from when you are taking waist measurements for a native shirt. When you are taking waist measurements for corporate shirts, is different from when you are taking waist measurements for suit making. So that is why you need to watch my video on how to draft pattern for a male native shirt. I explain into details how you can get this value easily. All you need to do is just to subtract a particular value from the chest circumference you are working with. Difference between the waist circumference, the hip circumference, and the chest circumference for male figure is not that much. So just subtract a little from the chest circumference, or use the hip circumference. Subtract a little from it, then you use it as the waist measurement. With this, we have a perfect outfit. So on the waistline, I will be inserting 8.5 inches. So, and here is a point. Okay, then here I will be having a dart intake. So this pattern is going to be with dart. The dart intake is 1 inch, so that is why I will be inserting 1 inch extra. So apart from this measurement, I have 1 inch extra, so I will cross this out. So this is the waist measurement now. So the next step is to connect this point to this point. So I'm using the upper part of my curve ruler, so which means I don't want this side to be a complete straight line, so that's what I'm using. So that is where I'm using the upper part of my curve ruler. So it's not going to be so curvy, and it's not going to be on a complete straight line. So this will bring out the shape of the waistcoat. You can see the positioning of my curve ruler. The curve is facing towards the center front. Connection from chest level to this point. So that is the 1.5 inches point I brought downward. You can see what I have. So now this side is settled. So to close this part, you can see I shaped only the center part of the waistcoat. So we have to connect this point to the side of the pattern. So all I'll be doing is just to measure from this waist level. So this is the waist level. I will bring this down by 1 inch. Then from the 1 inch point, I will measure 0.75 downward. These measurements are standard. Half of an inch, 0.625, and 0.75. So that is the point. Then I will connect it downward with a straight ruler. So from the waist level, so here is 1 inch. And this point is 0.75. So from the waist level, which is this point to this point, is 1 inch and 3/4. From here to here, I measured 1 inch first. Then from the 1 inch, I measured 0.75 downward. I separated this because this is the way I will be using it for the back bodies. When I'm constructing the back bodies, the lower part will be a little bit different from the front bodies. Okay, so the next step is to connect this point, the 0.75 point, to the 1.5 inches point I have here, in order to close up the lower part. If you want your pattern longer than this, you want to have a long waistcoat, don't forget, if you added to what you have here, which is this 5 inches, you have to add to this as well. Let's assume I want to use 7 inches for this part. You can use, I use 5 inches. If I'm using 7 inches, then I will add extra 1 inch to this as well. So instead of 1.75, you can, okay, if I take this measurement altogether, I'm having 1.75. So instead of 1.75, I will use 2.75 or 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches points. And here I want to use 7 inches. This is 7 inches. So I will be connecting this like so. So you can see what I will be having. So that is that. In plotting the darts, I will be taking the measurements I have from the 1.5 inches point to this point. So here I have 8.5 inches and I will get the midpoint. The midpoint of 8.5 inches is 4.25, which is here. Okay, then I'll come to the chest level. That is the real chest level. Don't forget, here is the real chest level. From here to here, from here to the midpoint is 4.25. So I will be inserting the same 4.25 at this point. So that is from the center front. You can see I took the measurement from the center front on the real chest level, not the 1.5 inches I extended downward. So here is 4.25. The measurement was gotten from the midpoint. This is the midpoint of this line. The measurement I took from this point to this point is 8.5 inches, and midpoint of 8.5 inches is 4.25. Then I inserted the same 4.25 on the chest level, which is here. Okay, then I will be connecting this using a straight ruler. So when you are constructing yours, if you don't have a perfect straight line, don't worry. It is not meant to be on a straight line because of the positioning of the pattern. You can see the pattern itself is not straight. Okay, so that is because of the shape we are having for the waistcoat. Then the next step is to move the dart away from the chest level. Okay, so from the chest level, I will measure 2 inches downward, which is here, because I don't want the dart to get to the chest level. This is to bring out the beauty of the dart. Then on the waistline, I will measure half of an inch on both sides. Half of an inch here, half of an inch here. Don't forget, I added 1 inch of dart allowance, so I must plot my dart to be 1 inch. Okay, so my dart intake must be up to 1 inch. Half here, half here. Then I will be connecting this point to meet this point like so. So you can see what I'm having. So then I will be taking this downward to get to the hemline. So now I will confirm my dart intake on this line. So here I have more than 1 inch, but I don't want my dart intake to be more than 1 inch on the hemline. So what I'll be doing is just to clean this up like so. Then I'll insert exactly 1 inch. So half of an inch here, then half of an inch here. So I will just connect this straight to the waist level. Guys, the waistcoat pattern for the front bodice is ready. As you can see, everything is set and is looking good. I have the neckline, the armhole, the dart, the side, the hemline well shaped. You can see the beauty of the hemline. So that is that very beautiful shape of the waistcoat hemline. So the last step is to add seam allowances all around my pattern. This is optional. If I had my seam allowances, that means I'm not using this pattern for any other thing again. If you know you will be making use of your pattern for future purpose or for future references, do not add your seam allowances on your pattern. Add your seam allowance on your fabric. But for the sake of this tutorial, I will be adding my seam allowances all around the pattern. I will be adding half of an inch on the neckline in order to finish the neckline. I need half of an inch on the shoulder line, half of an inch on the armhole. Then at the center front, I will be adding half of an inch as well on the button allowance in order to finish the edges. Also, the hemline, just the way I have the shape here, I will be adding half of an inch here, half of an inch here. Then by the side of the pattern, I will be adding 1 inch. Now I've cut out the front pattern, as you can see. So I'll put this aside. Then I will be showing you how to draft the back bodice. So here is my pattern for the back bodice. I have the starting point line, I have the chest line, and I have the waist level. Then I constructed my armhole the same way I constructed the front bodice armhole. There is no difference, okay? And also the shoulder line. I have the shoulder slope line. Then for the shoulder width, I have 3 inches, just the same way I did for this. It has to be the same, okay? So now the first thing I'll be doing is to construct the back bodice neckline. The back neckline will be different from the front neckline. Don't forget we have V neckline for the front, so but for the back is going to be a round neckline. Also, I have this side as a center back. The center back is going to be on fold, so I don't have any markings at the center back, and I don't have any allowance at the center back. So for the neck width, I will be using 3 inches. 3 inches is a standard basic neckline, so this is what I will be using for the back, because the back of the waistcoat has to be below the shirt collar, okay? So you can use lesser than 3 inches, but it shouldn't be more than 3 inches. 3 inches is a standard measurement. So I'll be squaring this out in order to have a straight line. Okay, so on this line I will be inserting 5 inches. That is what I use for the neck width on the starting point. So I'm inserting the same 5 inches on this line. Okay, so from the center front, I will measure 2 inches inward. Like so. Then I will be connecting from this point to the 2 inches point. So I'm doing this because I don't want the back neck to be too deep. So this is what I have for the neckline. So the shape you can see right now that I'm tracing out is the neckline. So all these are not part of the neckline. So this is the back neckline. So the next step is to shape the hemline of the back bodice. Okay, don't forget we shaped this waistline of the front bodice. So you can see the way we shaped the So you can see the way I shaped the hemline of the front bodice. So I have to shape the hemline of the back bodice as well. So from the waist level by the side, don't forget this has to be done by the side of the pattern. This is the side of the pattern and this is the center of the pattern. So from the side, I will come down by 1 inch, like so. Then at the center front, I will come down by 1 inch as well. Then I will make this a straight line. So then I will extend the waist point to the 1 inch point, like so. So after this step, before finishing the shaping of the hemline, I will have to plot the darts. So in plotting the darts, I will be using the same measurement I used for the front dart. So for the front dart, from the center front, I used 4.25. So from the center back on the 1 inch point, I will insert 4.25. So this is the exact measurement I used when I was drafting the front bodice dart. Okay, so here is the 4.25 inches. Then from this 4.25 inches, I will insert my dart intake, which is 1 inch. Okay, then I'll get the midpoint. So that is half of an inch. Then I'll come to the chest level. So that is the real chest level. I will insert the same 4.25. So which is here. Then I will be connecting this point downward to the midpoint. Okay, so this is what I have. Then on the waistline, because I've added 1 inch as the dart intake, I will be inserting ½ inch on both sides. You can see I have half of an inch here, half of an inch here. In total, I have 1 inch. Then on the chest level, I will come down by 1 inch. I use 2 inches for the front, but for the back, I will be using 1 inch. The back dart is usually longer than the front dart. That is why I used 1 inch. Then I will be connecting from the waist point to the 1 inch point on the chest level, below the chest level. Okay, then I will connect this to the hemline straight down. Okay, so now I have the dart plotted. So in order to complete the shaping of the hemline, from this 1 inch point, I will measure 0.75 downward. And here is the point. So that was why I measured 1.75 by the side of the front bodice. If you remember, when I was drafting this pattern, from the waist level, I measured 1 inch downward. Then I added extra 0.75, which makes it 1.75 in total. Okay, so this is the reason for that step. Okay, so from here to here 1 inch, then from here to here is 0.75. Then I will extend this line downward to the point. So the next step is to connect this point. This is 0.75. And here is 1 inch. So then I will be connecting this point to the dart point, like so. So with this, I have the hemline shaped out. You can see the shape of the hemline for the back bodice is different from the shape for the front bodice. But one thing you have to have at the back of your mind is the two sides must be equal. because the two are going together. When we get to the construction level, we'll be joining the two sides together. So whatever you have for the front by the side has to be equal with what we'll be having for the back. You can see I added 1.75 in total by the side of the pattern. Then for the back also I added 1.75, but for the center it can be different because we are not joining the center together. So guys, I have the pattern ready, the back bodice is ready, the neckline is set, the armhole, the darts, the hemline has been shaped out properly. So the last step is to add my seam allowances all around the pattern. I will be adding half of an inch on the neckline, half of an inch on the shoulder line, the armhole, 1 inch by the side, and half of an inch on the hemline, just the way I did for the front bodice. But for the center back, I'm not adding extra inches because the center back is going to be on fold. Thank you guys for watching this video to this point. We are just getting started in this video series, as I will be uploading more related content in my subsequent videos. Make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to my channel if you haven't, because that is the only way you can get notified whenever I release those videos. See you in my next video, and always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.